Are we ready?
Sure.
Okay. My name's Josephine Shaw. I'm a part of the early childhood professions. I'm a second year, and I know as a second year, one of your off-site options are UMKC Berkeley. So I was wondering if you would just say your name and about your career field.
So my name is Polly Prendergast, and I have been in early childhood a really long time. The first program I directed was in, what year was that? 1987. And my career started as director of a child development center at an administrative level. I taught in the lab school at KU prior to that. Um, for 6 years, and then I was the executive director of an early childhood program in Chicago in the North Shore suburbs, and then in resource and referral in Minneapolis, and did some recruiting for early childhood students for a university. And then I've been at Berkeley as the senior director since 2003. So I'm an instructor in early childhood here on campus. Mainly, I teach program management, and then I am the director for the early childhood lab school.
All right. So my first question is going to be, how did you get to where you are now in your career?
Oh my gosh. First, I have to say, when I say those dates, I'm like, that was the fastest, slowest blink of an eye. It goes so fast, but you don't think it is at the time. And I really think I had a lot of great breaks because when I graduated from college in '86, um, I had, first of all, at KU, I was accepted as an intern and came back for an extra semester and was the director of one of their preschool programs. And it was you would apply for it, and I was the student in my graduating class that got it. It was called Flex Time. So I left college then. When I actually left after that semester, I literally could put on my resume that I had a semester of combined teaching and managing a preschool program for the University of Kansas. So that definitely gave me a pretty big leg up. Also, at the time that I graduated, because I did teach throughout the summers, and then, of course, did 3 or 4 practicum teaching sites and then taught in Lawrence a little bit. But by the time I graduated and having that administrative internship kind of under my belt, I'm not sure I would do it the same way again, but it did work out well for me. I was hired by Riverside Health Systems. They had and at that time in the well, actually it started in like the late 70s, early 80s, but when I graduated in the late 80s, hospitals, many hospitals had on-site early childhood programs for their nurses because the country was in a extreme nursing shortage, and they had realized, well, if we have quality early childhood programs on site, much like how the military did it, which that all started in about the 90s, then we're going to be able to attract and retain a lot more nurses, and they'll even come here for less pay for that quality programming. And so that was happening a lot. And Riverside Hospital was a small hospital in West Wichita, an osteopathic hospital, and with a program license for about 42 children. So it only had 3 classrooms, one preschool classroom with 24 children and a toddler classroom, and then it had a school age classroom that was only open during the summer months. So very small program. And I was offered the director / teaching. I did some teaching in the program and directing the program there at Riverside Hospital. I would say that was my biggest launching point. It opened up a lot of doors for me. One of the best parts of being part of a big organization like that is I really had good models for management and leadership, and a lot of good trainings within management and leadership. Um, I reported to the vice president of human resources, so learned a lot about human resources in that part. And I think it really set me up for the position I received when I moved to Chicago as the executive director for an early childhood program. That was much bigger. So that's really how I got my first start. And I think, like everyone, where you want to think things through, that first job can many times be that launching point for different career options that you want to go for.
All right. In thinking about your daily work, what is your favorite part of your job? And is there a part that is not as enjoyable?
So, yes to both. So, my favorite part of my job is being able to collaborate with the teachers and children and families. That's the that's my favorite part. The just being involved with curriculum planning and supporting teachers. I love to watch teachers grow in their professional development, and I love developing and participating in trainings for professional development with teachers in our program and families. That's my favorite part of the job. Probably my least favorite is having to deal with the staffing issues that you can come around. The barriers, there's a lot of barriers in our field that make this job really hard, much harder than if you're in a public school system as a principal, because you have to figure out, hey, who is that? You have to you have to figure out all your marketing, all your recruitment efforts. Even if you're working with an HR department, they usually do not understand the nuances of the field of early childhood. So that part can get pretty stressful and is probably my least favorite. I wish we had great salaries and you just didn't have to deal with that very often, but that's not reality. So,
What was the very first job you ever had, and what did you learn from that experience?
in my whole life or in my field?
In your field.
In my field. So the first job I had in my field was working at a kinder care. No, was I? Well, okay. So I was at kinder care and a was it Genesis maybe in Wichita. My family was in Wichita, and I was attending KU, and I'd gone to KU and visited the lab school and thought, oh, I love this, and so started taking classes in HDFL, which early childhood fell into the School of Human Development at that time. And then that summer, so that would have been the summer of 83, I was a substitute for kinder care, and then I worked part-time for Genesis. They have like a drop-in nursery. And what I learned was Genesis was okay, but you didn't really develop any relationships with anyone because it was drop-in. So I knew, that's not really professional. Or for me, that wasn't my thing. Kinder care was an eye opener. It was really poor quality. And I saw some things that were shocking that I had never seen at KU, that second semester at KU in their lab school there. And so went, met with my professors after that summer, went back and talked with them about it. And basically they were like, oh yeah, that's what many of the chain type child care programs are like. So what I learned was I never wanted to work at a kinder care. I hate to say that, but that is what I learned. And that there was quite a bit of poor quality in our field. And I was just getting exposed to it at that point.
What did your educational pathway look like?
So for me, my undergraduate is human development and family living early childhood. So really focused on working in community-based programs. There wasn't really early childhood licensure at the time I was in college. If I was in college now in undergrad, I'd go through a school of education and get my early childhood degree with certification. But that wasn't people from my era and where we started. That really wasn't. That's not how it was set up. I mean, special ed degrees were just starting to get rolled out about that time. So then because I was doing so much administratively, I really got hooked on reading Paula Jorda Bloom's work. She has passed away now, but she was the first kind of big guru in early childhood administration. And I knew that was a passion of mine. And so when I was in Minneapolis, working for a university there, I received my master's in organizational management with a focus on emotional intelligence. And I focused on emotional intelligence because of all of the chaos I didn't understand and would see within the field of early childhood and all the personalities you had to manage. So I had a real interest in how to navigate those waters without and have positive outcomes, because a lot of times in organizational settings, period, there's a lot of unneeded drama or miscommunication. And so that was my focus. That's what I focused on in graduate school.
What is your definition of success?
Oh, wow. Do I have a definition of success? I don't know if I have a definition of success. I think if you're doing something that fills you with joy, and of course you have to pay your bills. So if you can pay your bills and you're filled with joy and feel inspired by what you do, you're successful. That would be my definition.
What can students do now to help them prepare to get a job in this field in the future?
Well, I would definitely get my certification within early childhood. And if you're more interested in birth through 3, I was always more interested in birth through 3, then having a membership to the 0 to 3 organization and paying attention to the trainings that they offer and so forth is a good idea and all that. So I think you really want to look at the ranking of the school of education that you would choose for early childhood. And I think you would want to ask to see what are the required courses and make sure that they have the developmental, like if you're like, I really want to understand infants and toddlers, which I think if you're going to be certified in early childhood, they have to offer them. But you want to make sure there's an infant toddler practicum in there and classes, and that you're learning about that as well, and that it's not just a K through 12 where none of the early childhood is looked at.
Do you think that ECP can help students get a job in the future or help them in their field?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And of course, I hope that your graduates choose UMKC School of Education, and it has all the things that I mentioned to you that you would want to look for. And I do. I think that it helps quite a bit. So, yeah. And you always want to, so for example, let's say you graduate from high school and you're taking a breather, you're not sure where you're going to go to college, or you haven't declared a major. Use your program that you're in right now. You probably already know this, Carol probably teaches you this, but show that on your resume as years of work experience within early childhood education, because it absolutely is, and your coursework, because it will bump you up into eligibility for positions that if you don't have that on there, people won't realize that you have that. But you literally have high school credits that maybe articulate into college credit. I don't know the answer to that in early childhood, which you probably then, if you do, are graduating with the same competencies as a CDA. That would be my guess.
At the end of our second year, we actually earn our CDA.
See that, so that has to always be right out there at the top of your resume. Yeah.
All right, well, those were all the questions I had. Thank you so much for your interest in helping and supporting our students in becoming businessmen and businesswomen in the future.
You are welcome, and I hope you choose us to do your intern. We love having the students from your program here.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.